Okay, in this lesson we're just going to go over the basic interface of Premiere just to give you a quick overview. Hopefully you already have some knowledge of how to use the software, and also as well we're going to go over some common export settings and some sequence settings that we know we need to be editing in from the very beginning so we don't have any issues when it comes to rendering the final video. So it's really important to know your output, where you're going to be exporting to, how people are going to watch the video. Is it on their phone, on a laptop, cinema? So inside of Premiere, if you open that up and have it ready, so I'll start left and move all the way down to the bottom right. So over here I have my media browser in the top left. And now I keep this here just because when I'm bringing in footage into these folders on my desktop, I can easily just bring in footage from here. So I can easily access my rushes, I can access the assets and all these different folders, so I can just drag and drop into the project here any sort of footage or anything I need. So as an example, I'll go into the rushes here and open up the audio. So this is in the File Explorer, just to show you here as well. That is here in the rushes audio in Master Sun Short on our desktop. So I'm going to be dragging in that clip here and just dragging it into here for now. So this is bringing it into our project. Now this is actually the voiceover that will be used from John. So this is a 1-minute clip that we're going to be using to edit the video to. So I'm just going to quickly move that into the right folder inside of Premiere. So I'm going to put that into rushes and drag it into audio. So if I ever need to come back to that, I know it's right there in the project. Also, you can search and quickly find assets and things you need to in here if you want to do that, if you know roughly where they are. So I'm just going to drag, I'm clicking and dragging in, and that's going to open up in our timeline here. In the side of the timeline, this is obviously an audio file, so it's dropped to the bottom half of the sequence, and these ones up here, these will be where videos, animations, anything that's visual will sit, and anything that's audio based will sit down here. Also as well, you have your program. So this is where you will be able to see anything that happens inside of this sequence. Obviously it's black at the moment, but if I was to just create a bit of text there for you, you can see that that creates in the timeline, and then it shows in the program monitor here. And if I was to open the source, that is going to open individual clips inside of there. So if you wanted to listen to, say, just the audio and just see the visual of that, you would open that inside of the source. And then on my right hand side over here, I have effect controls. So that's going to be useful for adding additional effects and playing around with certain parts to individual clips, things like that. So that will become useful later down the line. It'll be easy to show you how to work your way around there. And then just below that, I have my effects. So for example, if I wanted to add any effects to any of the audio, video, which we probably will be doing, they're all sat just down here. And that's got a search bar as well. So if you knew what kind of effect you want, you can quickly type it in and drag and drop it onto your footage. Perfect, so that's a quick sort of guide as to most of the tabs and menus that you'll need open to edit something like this. If you do need to open any more or to add anything else, if you go up to Window here and you have all of the various things that you can open. So for example, I could open like the text and add some text, or transcribe. I can also, if they open like this, you can drag and drop them where you need them. So hopefully that's just a quick overview of how everything works. Hopefully you do have a good knowledge of Premiere anyway, but if not, that should just show you how to structure it and at least understand how to get to this point and how to follow us from here. So what I'm going to just quickly do is rename this. So obviously it's created a sequence here. I know that because this little icon there means sequence, and you can actually rename these. So I'm going to rename that and just call this raw edit, and I'm going to drag that now to sit inside of our sequences. Open up sequences, here it is, and put it into the raw edits there. Perfect. And then one last thing for this video. So it's very important to know what your final output is going to be. So for example, this video we're making here is going to be for shorts. Now the aspect ratio of shorts is on your phone, so it's going to be this kind of size. Now this is actually 1080 by 1920, and that will become a little bit more obvious once I open up the sequence settings. So go to sequence and sequence settings. So currently the sequence settings are here under video frame size, which is 1920 by 1080. So that's HD. That's what a lot of videos on sort of YouTube will probably be rendered out as. They might come in as higher, a little bit lower, but they'll always be 16:9 in ratio. So we're going to go ahead and change the sequence settings for this, as we know we want it to be on our phone. So we're going to change it to 1080 by 1920. And then for your time base, just double check that and make sure it's set to 25 frames per second. We don't need to go into too much what that does, but if you're basically any higher, if you're like 50, 60, it's going to look a little bit different when you render out your final video. Or if you go the other way, so if you're at 10 or 12, it's going to be very noticeable when you render your final video, as you're going to be missing a lot of frames. So just set that to 25 frames and then click OK. Now our sequence settings are ready to edit in. You can see here that on the program monitor, the aspect ratio has changed. So now it's the shape of basically a phone rather than the other way, landscape, which is widescreen. So now our voiceover is in the sequence and we're ready to start editing on that. So in the next video, I'll show you how I begin the process of putting together a Magnates Media video.